Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Today's episode is brought to you by Steve and Goody's Hunting Comedy Podcast, available wherever good podcasts can be found. Also, Red Sand Safaris, where all you need is a spirit of adventure and good aim. Today's adventure begins in Red Sand Safaris in the Limpopo province of South Africa. Once we got off the plane, Neil picked us up for a fantastic steak dinner. Just a big steak served in a bench vise. Pure carnivorian pleasure. Look at that thing. Isn't that amazing? On day one, I woke up at 6 a.m. to have this guy meeting me just outside my door. And I gotta tell you, it was the first animal I saw in South Africa. Red Sand Safaris is located on a working cattle ranch just outside of Metamoli in the Limpopo province of South Africa. The hunting lodge at Red Sand Safaris just makes you feel like you're at home. The amenities and staff at Red Sand Safaris are second to none. The great representative trophies all over the lodge give hunters an opportunity to really have a good look at what kind of animals they're looking for. The lodge is cozy, where friends and family can hang around and really enjoy vacation. On day one, I took an opportunity to have my professional outfitter take me out to a wild game park so that I could have an opportunity to really have a good look up close at the animals that I would be hunting this week. The views of the game park were quite beautiful and the vistas were just amazing. Our first goal was to hop on a game drive, where we had a driver who took us through and showed us and told us all these amazing things about the animals that we were seeing. We ran into a few hippos hanging out on a rock in the lake. They were so still, at first, I thought they were rocks. It wasn't long before we ran into a few other animals. Here we found a wildebeest, some impala ewes, and a blesbok. These ladies had had enough of us standing around gawking at them and decided it was time to get out of here. We had an opportunity to see a beautiful female Nyala. She didn't seem to like us being so close to her though. But then we saw it. The first ram impala of the day. first one that I had ever seen in real life. The animals in the reserve didn't seem to mind about us being there all that much. I guess in the reserve they were used to cars coming up and people staring at them. This was the day that I started to get excited about Impala. We saw a lot of animals on that game drive, and it was great to get the opportunity to really study these animals up close. Learn about shot placement, learn about the animals, how to tell the difference between the males and the females. But nothing got my hump pumping as much as this big old warthog. Look at the size of the tusks on that thing. We decided to leave the game park and head back to Red Sands and get out for a little bit of hunting. Because of a broken ankle about 6 weeks before my hunt, I ended up hunting the entire time out of ground blinds. But that wasn't bad. I got to see a lot of animals that first night, including a duiker. That afternoon, the wind was swirling. I got a chance to see some nice animals. Saw a few warthogs, a sow, and a few piglets. Even though there were a few animals coming in, none of them were shooters, but it was a really nice day for my first hunt. This morning, we're chasing some Franklin pheasants. U.S. dog handlers coming over with their short-haired pointers, and Nia and I are taking a little break from hunter outfitter and just hanging out as friends this morning, and we're just gonna go out and have a bit of fun together. It was a beautiful day in South Africa. The dogs were on point, the birds were chirping. We saw quite a few pheasants, but unfortunately we didn't get very lucky that day. We ran into these thorny suckers. I'll tell you what, they got a new nickname in Africa, but you're gonna have to go there to find out what that nickname is. I can't say that in polite company. Later on that day, Neville and I went out and we brushed in a blind, just to make sure we had the best possible arrangements for our evening hunt. We had a few more animals coming in, including this decent-sized warthog. He hung out for a little bit, but we decided to give a little bit of a wait because his tusks were a little bit small. We had a whole lot of animals come in that evening, and it was nice to see all the different species. However, that wind kept swirling around again, and then they were gone. Every night at Red Sands, we sit around by the fire, have a good chat talking about how the day went. It's a good time with family and friends. That next morning, the wind was right. However, I'd fallen ill. I brought the flu with me from Australia, and then managed to catch another strand of it while I was in Africa, so I was feeling pretty horrible this day. But the great thing was the wind was in our favor. We sat there for a while, didn't see a whole lot. We had a few things, we could hear them coming in, but then they wouldn't come in. And we're quite sure that because myself and my professional hunter were coughing like crazy, that's why we weren't coming. I had a huge coughing fit while we were sitting out there, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a big Impala ram on his way in. This ram was a ram that I thought I'd seen a few days earlier, off in the distance. But this time he was coming straight in. I thought for sure this was a good shooter ram. I looked toward my guide Edmond and asked him, and he said for sure that this was a good shooting ram. He had a nice bell, nice hooks, and good points. This ram string jumped me, so that arrow went a little bit high and a little bit farther back than I would have liked. But we got him and he went down. First animal down in Africa, and I was so happy.
Got a nice Impala ram, and we just found it. I'm heading back over now to do the photos. It's not an absolute monster, but he's good. He's a big ram, and I'm pretty stoked about this. So, he only went about 80 to 100 yards from where I shot him. He dropped down a little bit right as I shot, so I did hit him a little high, but still double lunged him. Yeah, he only ran about 80 yards, and I'm pretty stoked to see what's gonna happen next, man. I see Edwin over here, my guide, my professional hunter, and he's setting up ready for us, so let's see what we got.
What a beautiful animal. This guy was more than I could ever hope for. And I've took very much pride in sitting down and taking a photo with this beautiful animal. In less than an hour after I shot this beautiful ram, we got him over to the skinning shed where our skinner Elijah was happy to take us through the process. Edwin was having a good look to see how nice this ram was, and boy, he was sure a nice ram.
Yeah, take a photo while you are working. He wants to see Elijah, the specialist in the profession.
That's right.
Elijah was a little reluctant to have the cameras on him, but after a little bit of coaxing, he agreed. I decided I wanted a shoulder mount of this beautiful ram, and so Elijah was showing us how he prepared the cape to get that job done. Elijah started below the ribs. In the front, he worked his way around and straight around to the front until he had a clean cut all the way around. And I'll tell you something interesting about Elijah. Elijah is from Zimbabwe. He's got one eye and zero depth perception, but he does an amazing job at skinning these animals, and he is passionate about it. Elijah's family, his wife and his 8 children, are all back in Zimbabwe, where the government and the things that are happening over in that particular country made it very difficult for him to make a living. So he's come to South Africa to do a bit of work, and he sends his paycheck home every week to his beautiful family. Elijah is meticulous, making sure that every cut is as best cut as he can make it. And there we have it. That Impala ram is ready for the taxidermist. The meat is ready for the cold room. The rest of our party had come in the night before, and on day 3 in the morning, we all went out to have a bit of a shot. Neil gave us a bit of instruction on how they do a bit of rifle stalking in the bush. As Kat was the only one hunting with a rifle, Neil took the opportunity that morning to show her how she'd be hunting this week. With a few tips and a bit of instruction, Neil had Kat shooting bullseyes downrange in no time. Boy, was she excited with her groupies. Later that morning, they took us up for a special welcome breakfast up on the top of the mountain. The camaraderie, food, and views were second to none. It was an amazing morning. Later that day, we went out to a different line. They had a name for it. I couldn't remember what it was, but to me it looked like a World War II pillbox. It wasn't long until a couple of nice rams came in with a few ewes, and this one was a nice one. He was a good shooter. He started walking straight toward what I call the pillbox. The camera angle is a little bit different than my viewpoint. I had no shot. And just as soon as this ram walked into my life, he walked right back out, never to return. We had plenty of interesting visitors that day, including these ring mongoose. A whole family of them. These fellas sure are weary. In between the animals, my guide and I spent a lot of time looking at photos of each other's families and other random things on our phones in the blind. I glanced up and caught just a glimpse of a tail at one point, and before my guide could even get my camera turned down, I was a full draw shot. That's my buck. This fella jumped about 5 yards. So we went out to find the ram because we had plenty of light left, and we found him only 35 yards away from the pillbox. What a gorgeous ram. This fella ended up being a gold SCI and Roland's Lord. We had another visit from this gorgeous Nyala. And there's my perfect shot. The problem with this fella is he just kept moving. So we tried following him over. I wanted to take this fella. He was on my list. I'd want to snap, try and get him to stop, and he did, but just outside of shot range. Later on at camp, everybody came over to see my big ram. It was the talk of the camp for quite a few days. Next morning, we had some interesting little visitors coming around the water hole. Barred monkeys. They came into the watering hole one day, and you can't see him, but up on one of the trees there's what's called a lookout monkey, and he's a big fella. That next morning we didn't see a whole lot of animals out, but we decided to take a very rare opportunity to go to a brand new concession just down the way from the one we were hunting on. The interesting thing about this concession is no one had hunted it in over 7 years. And on this concession was the animal I came to Africa for, the hemsbok. I saw this pregnant female hemsbok standing broadside for about an hour that morning. Unfortunately, she was just talking because my big male did not come in. We saw animals of all makes and sizes moving into this water hole. Off in the distance, I saw a herd of zebra coming in. Zebra was one of those animals that was on my list, but only if it was a target of opportunity. The opportunity presented itself for a big stallion. Good buddy Edwan explained to me that the striped son of zebra all come up and point right to their vitals right on the top of their leg. Most people don't realize that African animals' vitals are a little bit lower and right out to the front, right behind the shoulder. He said, aim for that little white spot right in the point. That's exactly where I put my arrow. Let's take a little closer look at that in slow motion. Textbook perfect shot. Concession owners hadn't had hunters in so long, the foreman actually locked us into the hide, but that wasn't too big of a deal. This warthog is just one of the beautiful critters we saw come into the water all that day. I had decided that a hartebeest would not be on my hit list on this particular trip. However, this fella came in and stood right at 12 yards just taunting me the entire time. He must have hung out for at least 35 minutes. Guinea fowl seemed to be all over the place, and they were quite tasty. This pair of warthogs came in, and that male was a nice big shooter. My guide Edwan had advised me to wait until that sow moved out of the way to take my shot at the bull, or just the off chance it might go through and hit the sow. So I waited. Look at that shot. Look at all that blood just gushing out. He ain't going far.
You see that? Just gushing blood. Gushing. Where'd he go? He went that way. He was just gushing blood. Just shot a zebra and a big ass warthog, man. Holy cow. We finally got that out. We're on a different concession. They actually locked us in. And so we're just getting out to go find my zebra. And we found I shot the warthog right before the other guy showed up, so it's crazy.
This is my first time ever hunting with a guide, and it was quite an interesting experience. I was quite happy with the amount of customer service. I kind of stood back and they just did all the work. I don't normally like to do that, but in this particular instance, it was quite nice. This is an experience that I just can't wait to get back to try again.
We got him. It's the steak. I was just getting set up for the photo. See It's crazy, man. Stoked. Way stoked. That's crazy. He's gorgeous. Strikes like that. This is crazy.
Zebra wasn't originally on the hit list, but I tell you what, I do not regret taking this beautiful animal. I cannot wait to have him in my home forever.
Holy cow. Jumping.
Neville and Edwin were just as meticulous finding my warthog as they were my zebra. You've got to respect the process of these professional hunters. They find sign and they don't move until they find the next sign because they don't want to accidentally tamper up the ground. What professional is it? My adrenaline just a kicking. It seemed like it took forever just to get across that narrow path. It seemed like it took hours, but it probably only took us about 10 minutes to find that critter. He only went about 35
We
yards.
just found
Consummate professionals at Red Sand Safaris took their time to go through and explain to us how you tell a mature animal. He shows us how the scent glands are right below the eyes, makes them look like they're crying all the time. He also explains the significance of the warts and how big they are. That helps us to understand how mature a warthog is. There's something special about South Africa. I don't know if it's the people or the relationships that you build. When your guides become lifelong friends, you take beautiful animals, eat delicious food, and have amazing experiences that you will remember for a lifetime.
And a South African college degree.
But now it's time to get back for a late breakfast.
A pizza can feed a family of 4.
Nice. I like that.
If anybody's considering a trip to South Africa, I highly recommend Red Sand Safaris. Gene is an amazing cook, and the food alone is worth the trip. Yep, that's mine and Mrs. Goody's antelope right there, and those are some tasty victuals. The next morning, a few of us hunters who had finished up for the week were heading out to the taxidermist. We were going to go check out the process, see how things work. Here we are heading in the gate at Nylstrom Taxidermy. And I gotta say, this place is a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Right as we walk in the front door, we're standing in the showroom. We're getting an idea of the excellent craftsmanship that goes into the taxidermy here at Nylstrom. The work is so unique and interesting and intricate that it makes you really want to go home with a lot more than you thought you were going to. I really enjoyed these carved giraffe bones. Those are quite nice. I got a feeling there's going to be some zebra hoof bookends in my future. nice enough to take us around the shop, give us a grand tour to show us the different processes that go on here at Maelstrom, the step-by-step of getting our animals from the field into our homes. This is the receiving room. This is where our outfitters will drop off our capes and horns and antlers. This is the salting room. Once they get the skins in, they get them all salted up and stack them in here. They actually don't do the tannery here at Maelstrom's. They actually hire that out, so that's where they come and pick them up. Some skins go directly into vats full of chemicals to keep them nice and clean. Kills off any parasites. Also got vats around the place full of chemicals where they put all the skulls and antlers and horns. They stay in there up to 7 months to kill any parasites or any kind of biological issues that could be happening on your trophy. These fiberglass forms are what the taxidermists use to bring the animals back to life. These are some amazing representatives of these species. The taxidermists stretch the skin onto the forms. Everything from full body mounts to shoulder mounts to European mounts. They can all be found here. These trophies are ready to be packed up and shipped out. So this is the start of the packing area where they make these bases to hold the animals so that they can crate them for shipping. This is the shipping room where they actually put the animals in the crates, actually mount them to all different sides, and are actually able to get these crates quite small for shipping. Thanks for joining us today at Caitlin Outdoors. Just remember to keep your strings waxed and your broadhead sharp. God bless.
One. Okay.